Hello my darlings, on today's tutorial I'll show you how to make these wedding detachable sleeves. Now I'll show you how to make this Polkadot tulle fabric detachable sleeve. To make this sleeve you will need these 3 measurements for pattern making. I will be using this gorgeous Polkadot tulle fabric, and my sleeve pattern measurements are 140 centimeters wide by 55 centimeters long. Also, I'll be using 2 pieces of elastic. This piece is for the bicep, which is 2 inches shorter than the bicep measurement, and this piece of elastic is for the wrist, which is the same measurement as the wrist plus 1 centimeter seam allowance. Both elastic pieces are 5 millimeters wide. Now I'll pin elastic pieces to this tulle fabric. I'm folding this tulle fabric in half. So this is the center. I'm adding a pin where the center is, there. And repeating same on other side, folding this tulle in half, pinning the center, there. So these are the centers for the tulle fabric. Next, I'm pinning center on bicep elastic, there. Pinning center on wrist elastic, and this elastic will be pinned there. And the measurements between tulle edge and elastic is 8.5 centimeters. Next, I'll pin bicep elastic on, and the measurements between tulle edge and bicep elastic will be 3.5 centimeters. I'm pinning this bicep elastic center to tulle center, and I'm pinning this elastic into place, and measurement is 3.5 centimeters. Now I'll sew this elastic on this tulle fabric. To sew this elastic on a tulle fabric, I'll be changing stitch to zigzag stitch. So I have changed that to zigzag stitch, and my stitch length is on number 3. First I'll sew bicep elastic on. I'm placing this thread behind the sewing machine foot and placing this elastic end to tulle fabric edge end there, and 3.5 centimeter measurement is there, so that's going to be my guideline. I'm placing elastic and tulle fabric under the sewing machine foot, placing needle inside, and this is my center guideline. And I will be gathering all this tulle fabric under the elastic, and I will pull elastic whilst I sew. I'll be pulling this elastic at all times, and I'll be gathering tulle fabric underneath. I'm gathering this tulle fabric less on these tulle fabric edges. I'll be gathering this tulle fabric more in the center of the tulle fabric and elastic. And I'm keeping eye from this edge to elastic. I'm making sure that it is still 3.5 centimeters. I've nearly reached elastic and tulle fabric center. Now I'll be gathering this tulle fabric under the elastic a lot more than I did on the tulle fabric edge. I have nearly reached the center. I'm removing this pin so I don't sew over it, and I keep gathering that tulle under, and now I can remove this center pin and carry on sewing the same way like I did other side. As you can see, all this tulle fabric is really gathered in the center of this elastic. And less gathered on each edge of this tulle fabric and elastic. Next, I will use this pin to hold this elastic end. So I sew this elastic fully on this tulle fabric, like that. And the bicep elastic is sewed on this tulle fabric. As you can see, it is a lot more gathered in the center than on each edge of this tulle fabric. Next, I'm securing this thread by making 3 knots so the seam doesn't come apart, and I'm repeating same on other side. So the bicep elastic is sewed on and it's finished. Next, I'll sew wrist elastic on. wrist elastic is a lot shorter, so I'll be gathering this tulle fabric a lot more, and the measurement is 8.5 centimeters, and this is my guideline. And I'll repeat same sewing process like I did on a bicep elastic. Here's a close-up, and now I'm gathering this tulle fabric a lot more than I did on a bicep elastic because the wrist elastic is a lot shorter. I have nearly reached the center, gathering the rest of the tulle to the center point, removing pins from the center, and I'll carry on sewing same way. And again, I'm using a pin to hold the end of the elastic, so I can sew this elastic fully on a tulle fabric, and my wrist tulle is sewed on, and it looks like that. As you can see, it is a lot more gathered. Securing 3 knots on this thread so the seam doesn't come apart, and repeating same on other side. So this is the right side, and I'm folding this sleeve into half, and where the elastic is the wrong side. Next, I'll make a knot from these threads to secure them into place, and elastic is aligned as you can see here. So I'm making knots to secure them, cutting excess thread off, and I'll repeat same on a bicep elastic. So this is the right side, folding this sleeve in half and making knots on these threads to secure elastic into place, cutting excess thread off. And this is ready to sew. I am turning my sewing machine back on, and I'm changing stitch to a straight stitch, and stitch length will be still number 3, and I'll sew these 2 edges together, and my seam allowance will be 1 centimeter. Putting foot down, sewing back and forward stitch, and when I reach the elastic, I'm sewing back and forward stitch to secure elastic, and I carry on sewing these 2 edges together. Making sure both wrist elastics are aligned together, sewing over elastic with back and forward stitch, and same on tulle edge, and the sleeve is finished. And it looks like that, cutting excess thread off. And this is how it looks. So this is the wrong side of the sleeve. So this is the wrist, nice and stretchy, and this is the seam. And now I'll turn this sleeve to the right side, evening out all of the gathering on both sides. So this is the wrist, making sure that gathering is nice and even, and this is how it looks. And this sleeve is finished. And here are my finished wedding detachable sleeves. You can shop these detachable sleeves on my website. I will link it down below in the description box. If you have any questions how I made these wedding detachable sleeves, please comment down below in a comment box. I will link all materials which I use on this tutorial in the description box. I hope this tutorial was useful, and I will see you next time. Love, Anita.